Yes, ma'am. Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Don't worry about it. I'm White House. I got stuff. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Um, the, there's, there's people saying that I'm back on Scuttlebutt. He was specifically asked about that. I think he was asked if he would have gone a different way now that he knows it's Kamala. He said no, and I think he's doing great. In one sit-down interview, I did see the box. So you don't have any idea whether it's true or not. So that's all.
Dave loved it.
I thought briefing was great. Back, I'm not sure whether it was staged. I asked if she had some off chance like the rest of the question. I think she's like the rest of the years. But I did like the work. Because we're talking about how's everything here? But I don't know. Yeah.
I should, apparently I should.
Who's Andrew?
Oh, that's fun.
What can I do for you?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I got a new one here.
I would reach out to my colleague John Browning for that. He's been on the ground covering the hurricanes.
Yeah.
BOWD, and it's just first name, last name.
Right. Right. Yep. Well, I'll get that started. I'll share the script that I have here. Maybe you can get a track back on it. Maybe she has to resolve that. So, it's got one piece of pre-developed with Donald Trump social and I'll get the script here, yes, and I'll text you if they return it back. I'll get Trump started on it.
Yeah, well, try. Incredibly distracting. Figure it out yourself. See ya. Bye.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I usually hang up and do that quite back. Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Really? I mean, American and JetBlue are gigantic down here. Yeah. Right, because it's not that much of a thing. Right. Yeah, I think like 10. Yeah. Right. And then you just last few weeks. Yeah. Well, especially, yeah, no, appreciate it. Well, especially if you were going to then, giving a little more time on the front end developments is, right, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Right.
She's a blueberry.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, because he still likes to get there early, kind of to give us the start of the day, as well as even, start going even early. You can always stop and turn around, right? Yeah.
See that?
Right. Yeah. Yep. He kind of leaves it behind or something like that. But again, if it's dramatic enough to stop us from leaving or not, we have time to do that.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yep. Yeah, that works. Okay. Thanks.
Did you leave it up there?
We'll have to go look.
Where are you going? Where are you going? You're like a cat.
There's the bottom of that. Last year they had their own walk ahead of PTC sitting
Simple option. Yeah, I can just go and feel.
to subtract from can't tell it must yeah, they do it all the time. But
That's what I avoided. Saying no.
I know everything.
I know Tony's a lot of this year for NBC.
Say.
I got an ND46, which is better than
just try to maintain. Do the best I can.
I have to import it into new ones.
You could squeeze just around. Why? Where I can, once in a while.
Didn't you say one time you had problems?
Heidi. Hi.
Yeah, we stayed in there.
That's the one that's popping up on my phone. Yeah, it's not working.
Probably, I mean, he's got, you know, what prevents it, you know what I'm saying, or what incentive did he to do something? I think you have decency first.
Not of the last 2 weeks. Good for you. I'm leaving on the 7th.
Oh, you used to select me.
Thanks.
Jack, yeah, it's dangerous. Just reading political playbook, that's the time here, the edition. And they're talking about a mini movement for Pete Buttigieg, which is cool. Potentially, I don't see that as possible. And for what reason you're disqualified? I mean, the VP never wins their states.
No, look.
They're supposed to do more harm.
I mean, look at Johnson, Texas, we've done it.
It's got an actual constituency.
Yeah.
I think she'd already get the
Yeah.
that vote, right? Because what the reason I picking is because in essence, would really be cementing the concept that while holding two of us accountable for this entire administration, the second administration person, you have no distance from the administration. So if you get a Mark Kelly or someone to say, hey, there's a whole fresh ticket, there's a whole, typically, he doesn't talk to the you read playbook to the end, you get the same enjoyment.
I think, a lot of this starts to dark.
The green arrow is on the red and we're on the needle is on the emergency route back to them.
It's not for
The other one is decoded here and sent back on
yeah.
SDI.
No one needs to. And it succeeded.
Okay.
Because you and I are actually having a conversation about it.
About how it's.
More, not because you initiated
I'm
it.
just sitting in the front row.
Right, no, I know, but because it was amusing.
Well,
Oh, we got our 2 minutes?
He's got a call.
So give Jason a call. He's asking for a fiber receiver. I know one C, but I wasn't sure what the other one. The other one struck back. John's.
well, nobody's doing anything like that. Anything on this end.
Yeah, he just wants to know if the fiber receiver working.
But if they haven't, the briefing hasn't started, will they go from here?
I gotta stand there. I can start the briefing right now.
Let me check with Joe. We just taking care of something.
Just going over this with you, I guess it's probably just to confirm with you. So the backup, lunchbox will be in receiver group 6. Primary will be in the red bag.
Which is what, +7 or -7? I know that's true for cats. I don't know if that's true for dogs. I don't even know if that's true for cats. That's what I heard.
Well, we're not in there. We're still working.
We have a 7-year-old cat who's 49.
I wouldn't want to be up here at all.
Hey, well,
Okay. All right.
How are you doing?
Yeah, you bet. Okay.
Okay.
Did we ever get the second lunchbox out of the car? The third one is still there.
So is Kevin coming back?
Oh, look at you.
Nice outfit.
here we go. Here we go.
Hi. How you doing? Great. Normal office address. Love our time together. That's what I'm glad I'm not with you again today.
Are you in a museum? Why you really did the selfless thing. That's what she said. Yes. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
It's very easy
Because you don't want to move the road inside. You gotta protect your territory. Just like me. It's a complicated situation. So I have to build a bond. So my impression is so they have to condition to that.
Yeah.
And if you are, you'll have the only hand in the shop. 2 hours. And to see.
That's a really long-standing ovation.
I guess.
Don't keep me, I'm done. I'm so done with it. You made it needed.
It is. I always believe in that.
It's been a long year this month, huh, April?
Long year.
This week.
Yes, yes. The month, the week, all of it. Do you think should happen to that first?
Does anyone else notice how on it the transcription unit is with Vice President Harrison's remarks these days? I mean, damn, this ended 1:05 Eastern Time. It's 2:08. I've never seen a Biden speech come out that quickly.
Are you complaining or are you saying this is a good thing?
It's not for me to do either of those things. I report
But
to
you're
you
noting.
decide.
But you're noting, duly noted.
We love the transcription. We want that.
It's a good thing.
Wasn't it that when people accuse us of being stenographers, I tell them, look, I know stenographers who work at the White House, and you have no clue how hard they work. I would not have you insulting them by accusing us of being stenographers.
And I would never.
Yeah.
These
are so good.
Truth is, these are the hardest White House briefings. I've been doing these for 25 years. And I've been personal friends with some of the transcribers. And these are the hardest ones to transcribe. Because the distemper in the room has never been like what it is now. And you get so many people shouting. It's really hard for you guys to find that. And they go on pretty long, too.
Yeah, I've been here a little over a year, so this is all I know.
We have to fear getting something wrong, and so do you.
Yeah.
But you have to fear carpal tunnel. So. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
one of those like lazy people.
I look like but he was the video guy. Wasn't he like,
He did
he was
mention
like
that.
a tasty. Miriam. He works for Tone Bill's house. At UST.
As a dance or doing that? Yeah. They're like, isn't it like, yeah, they said dramas, yeah. I went to Vegas, it was like 120. That's awesome, I love it.
Good, how are you?
That's awesome, saved my life. I got the black one.
Why
Yeah,
is it-
yeah.
I
never
probably
anything
else.
amazing. Erin also is really selling young jumpsuits. I know, I looked it up and I was like, the pants make more sense for me. Yeah. Jumpsuits like in the it's in the car. It's in the car. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. Same. They really know what they're doing. Yeah. Whoever's designing. I know. That's so funny. What would people wear? Like you know.
No, actually.
No more COVID.
Right, it's always
Good.
every 40
Good.
years.
We're moving it again. Yeah.
Oh,
What? No.
Can you work out?
It's just my sunglasses. Not a missile.
I know.
It's kind of short. Nothing should have been the first one. Sorry.
Yeah, and I put
When you did?
Yeah.
I know, I remember doing that too. We're not gonna tell you on orientation. 1:30 to 4 is a ridiculous jump. Crazy to know. It's like.
Wait, it's 4 or 3?
I'm sorry, 1:30 to 3. Sorry.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's really like the aspiration.
I've been here since I was just farming. This is when I had my one-on-one with them. Where they gave us the I think it was like 5.
I didn't go to class. They didn't let me go to class too much. Because they did a check. I met her in class. But the bus, I heard a video.
And she was like,
And she was like, look at my class. She said, she was suggesting another version. Oh my God. I mean, I don't know why they were oh my God, I'm there. That's gonna be. That's right. I know I
Well, in here?
I watched it.
Well, that's
The only honorable person.
dating herself. So the new window. Brad, where is I'm not very much for myself. Oh. Is he gonna talk for an hour? Yeah. There's only so much consideration. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to figure out whether this girl started before 3 or after 4. I hope it's not yet. Okay, clock.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
My last one girl, like, she got out there in December.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I read that. Like, I go from October to her becoming like my season.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Yeah. You want me to send you? I got pulled off early.
Right.
So my last time was like, what is this? Yeah, October 24th.
Like,
Yeah, that's so funny. I have that.
Yes, I did. You know what, no, seriously, sometimes I have to stop, because I did get the brakes in my napkin and just do something fine.
Totally get it.
Ooh.
There's monotony.
Huh?
I didn't think we got to have monotony anymore.
Going home. Yeah. But. Yeah, can always change. Well, April's pretty busy this month, so.
Don't do that, I'm
She's
getting ready.
holding the banner. Yeah, no, she's doing what we should be doing, she's just chilling.
I'm getting ready to write, this breaks my mind, I have to write a piece of it, breaks my mind up.
Looks like. All right, I'm out.
There are people there to do a citizen's arrest and that, you know, think they'll do it.
I think they can try, but I think the Secret Service will.
Well, they're not getting anywhere near that. Chicken from KFC, is that what he said?
I think so.
I'm looking for it now. I think that's coming up on screens. New York ones. Unless they route it back down to this. I can't find it on the screen yet.
No one do that. Okay, so move it up.
Is that
And
over
it's
there?
already in.
Yeah, he's in there.
Yeah. Definitely don't need my coat.
No, it's like,
Because it's freezing.
yeah, it's freezing in here, but it's like on fire out
You
there.
can literally bring a coat for indoors.
I'm gonna want to window.
Sir?
I meant to get it, but I've been up there so long I didn't want it anymore.
That's true, this is normal. Pardon me,
Whoa.
The ego just exploded on you.
I mean, it doesn't. Can't even believe he 50 years old.
therapy session.
Yeah. I don't know. I just got.
Well, it's not yours from us. All right.
Yeah, I want to. Let's go, Karine. Come on.
Thanks for real this time? Yes.
Right.
We'll see. All right, this time it's for real. Actually, I'll.
Yeah. Only things that kind of.
Good luck.
A lot of veterans, people come.
I'm sorry.
Story, they show the films and pictures, memory and stuff. That's very important.
see any.
Hopefully he'll be out there.
Thank you.
But I know
I'm
about
James.
these, they just told you 1,000 times that it's on my house. One generator was CB's.
There's going to be anti-war generations dying out, right?
Yeah, they not even know that we just refer us to make a word. Some young residents would say, yeah, South Korea invading the news. That's wrong. They may be brainwashed.
That's all we need.
They may be brainwashed somewhere else.
All right. Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, assassination attempt against Trump.
It's like a removal work.
Yeah.
This is Saturday night, 8 o'clock. CNN, they shoot
Oh, yeah?
You were, I saw you here.
Yeah, I actually bring this, I didn't see any.
I did.
Some guys who took mine, of course, that they were.
Is that your back?
Yeah. Yeah, we wanted something for kids. It's terrible.
You have missed nothing. I really don't know why I bother planning out my day anymore, or like making.
Yeah, that I agree on.
Yes. What? Down. I can't reach down there. Oh, there. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, just a second. Yeah. Brian showed it to me, and I don't know if it's go back to So, that's it. I mean, you can just run out. Right.
I got nothing.
But if not, I think the rule.
They'll send a 2-minute warning when there's a 2-minute warning to send,
Times 2 minutes.
which tells me nothing.
And there's supposed to be that hall floor.
Exactly. Can you skip that and just write Paul?
That's fine.
Okay, thanks for
I know, I was like, that, I said, that would have gone too far. I know. I'm like, and now he's, well, they kind of, they're late for that.
No, I didn't use those. I didn't use that. I did it in the closet. I can tell you. And then I dangled 3 down in the cupboard. It should be still there. Yeah, they took me out of the wall.
Yeah. Everybody's 4 years older and more seasoned. Grouchy.
Unheard of, but yeah.
That's good, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, it's like the same stuff we put here. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Nothing, how many nothings?
Yeah, I'm just gonna watch the commercial.
All right, it's 3:18.
Sometimes you, yeah, say, story about 20. understand that the manifest possibilities. That's very much.
Apparently we're about to get that.
Which is distinct from Donald Trump's service rights.
Sure.
Service.
That's great. That's great.
Right.
That way I can go.
Yeah, well, we lose it for 25 cents. Hey.
He said he didn't want no mess.
Oh, yes. Which means 20 minutes.
Uncomfortably close.
Ezekiel? I was taking it. I'll oil
Thank you.
Yeah.
And they've got an NSC call at 4. Perfect.
But, guarantee.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have a couple things at the top. So I want to start by addressing the horrific killing of Sonia Massey. The president and vice president both released statements on their heartbreak for Sonia Massey's family and loved ones as they face this unthinkable and senseless loss. They've also been clear that all of us as Americans, regardless of who we are or where we live, should be able to do so without fearing for our lives. Sonia's death at the hands of a responding officer reminds us that all too often, Black Americans face fears for their safety in ways that many Americans do not. Sonia's family deserves justice. President Biden has been clear about his commitment to doing everything he can to make our communities safer, including by advancing effective, accountable policing. That's why the president has pushed Congress to pass a George Floyd Justice in Policing Act and signed an executive order to make federal policing the gold standard of effectiveness and accountability. While we wait for this case to be prosecuted, the president and the vice president are continuing to urge Congress to get the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act to his desk so he can sign it. I also wanted to share the president and the vice president's deep sadness at the passing of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. No matter the issue, from delivering racial justice to building an economy for working people, she was unrelenting in her leadership. Leadership she demonstrated in her work to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act, make Juneteenth a federal holiday, and reintroducing the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. As the president said in his statement on Saturday, she spoke truth to power and represented the power of the people of her district in Houston with dignity and grace. Both the president and the vice president shared the honor of working with her during their times in Congress. We at the White House join the president and the vice president and their families in sending our love and condolences to the Congresswoman's family, her constituents, and beloved colleagues of the Congressional Black Caucus. Later this evening, after the president's speech, First Lady Jill Biden will travel to Paris, France, to lead the U.S. presidential delegation to the opening of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. The First Lady and the delegation will attend the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games and cheer on Team USA at various events. The First Lady previously led the U.S. delegation to the opening of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, which were held in the summer of 2021 due to COVID-19. And finally, as you all know, and certainly are tracking, what we saw from the president the last couple of days is what we have seen from him over the last several decades. Human decency, patriotism, a good man, who puts the American people ahead of himself. As the president said in his letter this past Sunday, it has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. As a member of his team and as an American, I am proud of this president's record. He's accomplished more in nearly one term than most presidents have in 2 terms. The president remains focused on fighting for the American people and building on the historic progress his administration has made. He's focused on growing the middle class instead of delivering big giveaways to corporations and the ultra-wealthy, fighting to lower costs for families instead of raising them by threatening to cut critical programs like Social Security, fighting for a fairer tax system instead of championing a $2 trillion tax bill that overwhelmingly benefited the ultra-wealthy, making healthcare more accessible and more affordable instead of working to eliminate the Affordable Care Act, strengthening and growing NATO, not eliminating it, and fighting for our reproductive freedom, not working to take it away. You will hear directly from President Biden when he addresses the nation tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight, the president will discuss his historic decision to put the country above all else and about the inflection point we face as a country in this moment. This is one of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make will determine the future of our nation. America must choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. He signed historic, monumental pieces of legislation into law and has worked across party lines to get a lot of them done. From jumpstarting a historic economic recovery to the largest investment in clean energy and climate action, gun safety, and more. The president is proud to have delivered these historic results for the American people, and he's going to use the remainder of his term to build on this progress for the future with the enduring faith he has in our nation. And so, therefore, I encourage all Americans to tune in tonight to hear directly from the president. Zeke?
Thanks, Karine. The president believes that it's best for the country that he not be in the Oval Office for another 4 years. How can you assure the American people that he's up to be in the office for the next 6 months?
Well, first I would say is that, and I've heard these suggestions out there. This is not an answer to you. This is an answer to the suggestions that I've had. I've heard about him resigning from office. We believe, and any suggestion of that note is ridiculous. It is not what we believe. The president, I just laid out what the president has been able to do in almost 4 years, and it's been successful. He's been able to do more, again, than any president has been able to do in 2 terms. He's been able to do that more in 1 term. And he wants to finish the job that he started and delivering more historic results for the American people. And look, he didn't step down from campaigning or from running because he didn't believe he can serve in a 2nd term. That is not why. And what I would say, as I just finished my opening, I would say tune in. Tune into what he has to say tonight, and he will lay that out for you all and the American people as to why he made that decision.
So you're saying he believes that he's capable of serving another 4 years, but he just doesn't believe that he can win another 4 years?
I will let the president speak for himself.
And so today, the president believes that he is fully capable of serving in the office that he currently has now and for the next 4.5 years if he wanted to.
Absolutely. And let me just quote from what he said on Sunday in his letter. He said, "It is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term." And what the decision that he made on Sunday was about putting country first, was about his party, and was about the American people. Again, I would refer you to what he's going to say tonight. He will lay that out, speak for himself, and you will hear directly from the from the president. The American people will insert you will as well.
On a different topic, there's some large protests taking place in Washington. The White House is now ringed by anti-crime fencing. The Capitol, there's some protests around Union Station. Is the president monitoring these protests? Does he have a message to the people who are demonstrating right now?
So it's basically what we have said for some time. We respect the right for all Americans to peacefully protest. And obviously we will continue to strongly condemn any form of violence as it relates certainly to protesting or destruction of property. We've been very, very clear. But Americans have the right to peacefully protest. Anything that is related to what's happening outside of this campus, the fencing, as you just mentioned to me, that's something for Secret Service to speak to directly.
Is he watching the protests?
I mean, the president is he's always kept up to date on what's going on. Right now he's certainly having meetings today with his senior advisors and other senior staff. I can't speak if he's right now watching the protests. Obviously, he's kept up to date into what's happening. But what I can say right now, we respect everyone's right to peacefully protest. We understand that this is a painful moment for many, many communities, but obviously, we're going to continue to strongly condemn any form of violence or any destruction of property. That is something we've been consistent on. Go ahead, Nancy.
Thanks, Karine. You read the president's statement where he said that it's in the country's best interest for him to step aside. Why is it in the country's best interest for him to step aside? Does it have to do with his health or
it does not have to do, they have nothing to do with his health. Again, the president's going to speak to this directly to the American people tonight in prime time. I know many of you all will be watching it. There are specials going on tonight. I promise you, he will speak to this directly to all of you tonight. But in his letter, he talked about the country, he talked about the party, he talked about the moment that we're in right now. It is not about his health. I can say no, that's not the reason, but hear him out tonight.
And the president denied for weeks, and you denied for weeks, that he was even thinking of stepping aside. What changed from all those days that he had that message to Sunday?
So look, he's going to address this as well this evening. Let him speak for himself. But here's what I will say. And I think we gave a little bit of a TikTok to all of you. He met with a small group of advisors on Saturday evening and with his family, and was thinking through how to move forward. Sunday afternoon, he made that decision. It was in a very short period of time, as you can imagine. And then at 1:45, he got on the phone with some of his assistants to the president, some advisors. He let them know, and then minutes later, a letter went out. So it was in a very short period of time that the president was able to think about this and make a decision. But I would say again, the president's going to address the American people you will hear directly from him tonight.
Can you talk a little bit more about how he's feeling after making such an extraordinary decision, like you said, making it quickly?
Yeah.
Did he feel bullied to leave the race?
I'm going to let the president speak for himself. Look, this, I mean, it's obviously is a historic moment, but a decision like this is very personal. It's not easy to make. And I think there are very rare politicians who could look at the situation and make a decision, right? And I think it speaks to how honorable this president is, how selfless this president is, that he was able to make this decision and say, it is not about me, it is about the American people, it is about the country, and make, again, a personal, difficult decision. And so I think that speaks for itself. I really do. I think that speaks for itself. And in the letter, as you all know, he said that he wanted to address the American people, was going to give remarks about his decision. And now we've come to that day where he's going to speak directly to the American people later tonight. And he's going to lay out what it is that he wants to say, what he believes the American people want to hear directly from him.
Just switching gears a little bit to
Sure.
Netanyahu's remarks on Capitol Hill. We've heard Republicans voicing serious criticism against the vice president for not being there. Her team insisting that it was a scheduling conflict. But how do you respond to that? What does it say about her priorities, the administration's priorities, that she was not there?
So let me just first say that the Vice President has been unwavering in her commitment to security of Israel. As you know, she's been a partner with this president for the past 4 years, not just domestic issues, but obviously also foreign policy issues. She's going to meet with the Prime Minister, Bibi Netanyahu, when he's here. And so, again, has been a critical partner in ensuring that Israel can defend itself. And to secure hostage deal, as you know, the president, we've been talking about that for some time, making sure that we have this hostage deal. She's been a partner in that. And that's what I can certainly say, that she continues to be supportive to Israel, making sure that Israel's security is ironclad, as we have been, as the partner, as the president has been. And she's going to meet with the Prime Minister.
Given the historic nature of Kamala Harris being the top of the ticket, does the president have any regrets about the way that he handed this enormous responsibility off in such a, unusual, shortened, kind of truncated fashion, not having her have a normal ascendancy to that top position?
Oh, I mean, the president has no regrets. Let's not forget, the vice president obviously has been vice president for more than 4 years. I do not see anyone who is more qualified to step in this moment, right? She was a senator, she was an attorney general, she's been a partner to this president, a critical partner, as I've said. I've listed out what we've been able to accomplish in the last 3.5, almost 4 years, an unprecedented record. She was a partner in that to the president. And so, look, this is, again, a decision that this president made, and I think he is proud to have made that decision. I know so. You saw it in what he has been able to say since Sunday. He's going to be on camera later today, obviously, to address the American people from the Oval Office because of this moment and how big this moment is. He wants to do that. He wants to make sure that Americans hear directly from him again after putting out the letter on Sunday.
And if you could distill just into a few kind of bite-sized pieces, what specific policies, actions, does the president want to get done in these last few months?
So he certainly wants to build on what we've been able to do. You heard me say this has been certainly what he's been able to accomplish in the four years in this first term is more than we have seen in presidents who have done 8, many presidents who have done 8. And he is going to be known as a consequential president of his time. And so He's going to continue to build on those successes. I mean, let's not forget, if it wasn't for the American Rescue Plan, we wouldn't be able to get out of the pandemic. We wouldn't be able to open up schools. We wouldn't be able to open up businesses wouldn't be able to open up again. There's the Inflation Reduction Act, which was also an incredibly important piece of legislation if you think about climate change and dealing with that. If you think about being able to beat Big Pharma, you think about the infrastructure legislation, which was done in a bipartisan way. This president was able to get that done. CHIPS and Science Act, again, a bipartisan way. This president was able to reach across the aisle and get that done. You think about NATO, making that stronger and bigger. I mean, there are many ways. I'm just naming a few things that the president's been able to do. Look, both of them, the president and vice president, are proud to have delivered these historic results, and we're going to continue to figure out ways on how to build on this progress. So that's going to be his focus. We will have a lot more to share. I'm not going to name out policies at this time, but you certainly will hear from this president. He's going to run through the finish line.
No concerns about being a lame duck?
We don't see ourselves as a lame duck president at all. In this period of time, this is a president that has been incredibly successful, and he's going to do everything that he can to continue to fight for the American people. I would say stay tuned. Watch.
Thank you, Karine. I have two questions, one on the vice president and then one on the president's decision. First, it's clear that President Biden and Vice President Harris have met regularly, including their standing lunches from the outset of the administration. But I'm wondering now, since he made his decision, if there are any plans to increase the cadence of those interactions, or if he plans to include her in more of his policy-making processes. How will that relationship and that involvement change?
So what I can say is the president and the vice president speak regularly. They see each other regularly. You named some ways of how they've been able to do that, to stay in touch and see each other in person. Look, the president is committed to being president and leading this country forward in the way that he believes that Americans want to see this country moving forward. And the vice president's going to continue to be a critical partner. Nothing's going to change in that. But they're going to continue to engage, interact, and have important conversations as it relates to policies and moving forward. That's not going to stop. And I'll leave it there.
And on the timing of his decision, it's now been widely reported that when Senator Chuck Schumer went to visit with the president in Rehoboth a week ago Saturday, that President Biden said, I need another week. What did he need another week for?
So here, I'll say this. They had a very good conversation, the president and Senator Schumer. I'm not going to go into their private conversation. I'm not going to go into particulars, but it was a good conversation.
You said it was a very short time frame in which the president was
in making that decision, right? When he started thinking about it and making that decision, it started Saturday evening, and on Sunday afternoon, he made his decision.
But it sounds like he was presented with data a week prior.
I'm just not going to get into specifics. It started Saturday evening. The next afternoon, which was Sunday afternoon, he made that decision. A small group of advisors, including family, was with him on Saturday night, and then Sunday afternoon he made the decision. That's how it happened. That's how he came to announcing it.
And on the messaging to us, to the press corps, it's been 9 days since there's been a briefing. The president obviously published his letter officially on Sunday, withdrawing from the race. Why go on television to make your first comments about that decision rather than make
I appreciate that. We've always had a protocol here. When the president's not here, we don't do a briefing. That's just the way that we've always it's always happened. The interview that I did yesterday was on the books for about 2-3 weeks. It was way before the president made his decision. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
Did the president exit the race because he didn't think he could defeat Donald Trump in November?
I'm not going to get into specific details of his thoughts. I would say tune in to tonight when he speaks directly to the American people. You'll hear what he thinks about his decision. He said in his letter that he wanted to address the American people about this decision that he made on Sunday. I would tune into that, and you'll hear directly from him.
And also similar to some of the questions my colleagues have asked, for weeks, people from this podium and other top spokespeople for the president were adamant that there was no way he was dropping out. Just in terms of credibility moving forward, I'm curious, if you guys could just address that.
I mean,
question.
I kind of addressed it a couple times of the president's decision making. When when folks from my team, from folks from this White House said that he wasn't going to drop out or he was not planning to drop out, that's where we were. That's where we were in that time. That is the guidance that we had. I mean, it's not
about you guys not receiving the proper guidance.
Tyler, on Saturday night, he met with a small group of advisors and his family, and that's when the decision started. Sunday afternoon, he made the final decision. That's where we were. And we've talked about this. This was a dynamic situation. It was. This is a historic moment. You have to, that is true. And it was for the president to come to that decision. When we told you all that the president, you heard from the president, he's not going to drop out. And he actually addressed it himself, not just us. There were multiple events, multiple opportunities where the president said he's in it. So you heard directly from him multiple times after the debate. You know, the president, again, met with a small group of advisors on Saturday. Sunday, he made his final decision. That's how it worked. That's how it happened.
We'll get a better sense from him about what went into that decision-making process.
I would tune in tonight. I would let the president speak for himself in this moment.
Given the level of support the vice president has received from lawmakers, other Democrats, donors, the party in general, has the president expressed any sentiment that maybe he should have made his decision sooner and given her a longer timeline?
What I will say is this was a difficult decision to make, a personal decision to make, and the president made it. And I will leave it as that.
Has he given any advice at this point to the vice president in her process of picking a running mate?
They speak regularly, they speak often. Obviously, they've spoken a couple of times. And I'm not going to get into their private discussions. Okay.
Is the Vice President or her staff going to be more closely involved in the day-to-day operations of the administration, given that she's now the
I kind of got this question moments ago. Nothing more to add. Where the Vice President's been a critical partner. She's been played an important role to a lot of decisions that have been made in the past 3.5 years. That's not going to change. And the president has always obviously appreciated her policy savvy, her ideas, her thoughts, and that's going to continue. And
say now,
look, the president is still president. You know, he's still very much commander-in-chief. He's still very much the president of the United States, and he's still very much going to lead this country in the way, in the direction that he believes is right. Is the right way to do it. So that doesn't change. That's not going to change.
And just make sure I understood your answer earlier. They have spoken about the VP selection specifically, or the
the VP selection. That is something obviously I can't speak to. The campaign side could speak to. What I can say is I heard the question as giving advice to the vice president in any way, right? They've spoken many times. I'm just not going to get into private conversation. The VP pick specifically, anything related to that, obviously the campaign can speak to that more if you want more details.
But Vice President Harris won't have extra staff in meetings that wouldn't normally be there for some sort of overlap transition.
I would say that nothing is going to change. The president is the president of the United States. He's going to continue to lead this administration the way that he sees fit. They are partners. They are partners. They have been. She's been, again, a critical partner in some of the big items that we have been able to get done on behalf of this country. Obviously, she's going to play a role as she has done in the past.
Did you watch the Prime Minister's speech?
That just ended not too long after I came out here. I have not talked to the president about this, if he was able to catch some of the Prime Minister's speech. Obviously, they're going to, as you know, they're going to be meeting here at the White House. Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu and the president is going to be meeting here tomorrow.
Thanks, Karine. This was a White House that was operating obviously with an eye towards the next 6 months, but also thinking it might have 4 more years to serve as well. I know it's early, but can you talk through whether there's been any sort of new direction about how this White House will operate, given that you only have this short amount of time left? And obviously the president was also balancing a re-election campaign at the same time. Does this free him up? Are there considerations being given to what else he might be able to do that he might not have?
So, don't have any policy announcements to make at this time. The president is going to continue to do what he has set out to do for the next several months, even while he was indeed running for re-election, which is pretty consistent, building on the accomplishment that he's been able to get done. That's going to be really important. He's going to look at this remainder of his term, and there's going to be important issues that he wants to get done. Don't have anything right now to lay out, but we want to continue to build on those accomplishments. We've gotten a lot of things done, whether it's healthcare, whether it's the economy, whether it's manufacturing, right? We want to continue to build on that. And so the president is determined. He is determined to get that done.
One of the first major initiatives that the president asked the vice president to lead was to oversee the diplomatic work with Central American countries as it relates to flows of migration. The House Rules Committee yesterday approved a resolution that will go to a vote of the full House, strongly condemning the Biden administration and its orders are the vice president for failure to secure the border. Do you have a response to that? And how would the president characterize what he views as the vice president's accomplishments in terms of overseeing that portfolio?
I mean, look, as we speak, you have congressional Republicans. They continue with their month-long blockade of critical resources that we need for the border, whether it's ICE, Border Patrol, and this is what they've been doing. Let's not forget the bipartisan, a really tough, important bipartisan piece of legislation or a deal that came out of the Senate that we were able to get done, and they got in their own way. They got in their own way because they listened to the former president, because they thought it would help Joe Biden. So they continue to block critical resources. That's what they have done for the past 3.5 years. The president is looking for ways to fund security funding to get to the border, right? And he's done that in a record way. And so we're going to continue to fight to make sure that the Border Patrol agents get what they need and get more personnel, thousands of new personnel at the border. That's what we're going to do. The president announced new decisive executive orders to secure the border. Unlawful crossings have dropped by more than 50%. And that's the president acting without Congress by 50%. They are now lowered at this point than they were in 2019 and lower than when the former president left office. And the president's doing that on his own. They get in the way, he finds other ways to make things happen. That's been the story of this administration.
One more question. Obviously, the Secret Service director resigned yesterday. I'm also curious if there is any consideration to increasing the security around the vice president now, and whether the resources of the Secret Service are affected by that in that decision as well.
Yeah, that's something for the Secret Service to speak to. That's something for the Vice President's campaign to speak to. I don't have anything to add on that as it relates to protection.
How are you doing with all of this, Karine?
You care about how I feel?
Are you going to stick around for a potential President Harris administration?
Oh my goodness, let me just get through the day. Can I just get through today?
I do have some other questions.
No, I think that's good. I think we're good.
Karine.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, thank you.
I haven't seen you in a while.
Well, you guys haven't had a press briefing since President Biden dropped out of the race. So.
The president hasn't been here. He just got here yesterday. And now I'm here taking your questions.
Thank you.
And I've taken about 3 or 4 at this point from you alone.
Well, it would seem that people in this White House knew that President Biden was slipping. And it was hidden from the American people. So who ordered White House officials to cover up a declining president?
I know that that is a narrative that you love. And
wait,
no, wait,
10 days.
hold on.
He did a press conference at NATO. I'm in it. There's all these things that
Hold
I need
on.
to finish. And then 10 days later, I'm dropping out.
Okay, okay, you're asking me like 2 multiple questions here. Let me, wait. First of all, there's been no cover-up. I want to be very clear about that. I know that's the narrative that you all want. Wait, no, you can't. Okay.
I've been with President Biden for 5 years.
Are you going to let me answer the question?
Would you at least admit that the debate was not just a bad night?
Wait, can I answer the question?
Yes.
All right. Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. To your first question, it is not a cover-up. I know that is the narrative that you all want. It is not. I'm going to say this again, and you're going to hear directly from the president. I hope you listen tonight. I think it's going to be incredibly powerful and important. The Oval Office presidents, as you know, when they make speeches from the Oval Office, it's because there are important moments that they want to directly make sure that the American people hear from them. And it's obviously going to be done in prime time. I would listen to the president. And then what I will say is that it is not easy making a decision that the president made on Sunday. It is just not. It is not. And as you all reported, it is historic. It is unusual. This is not the norm. And making a decision like that for someone who has been in public service for 54 years, U.S. Senator for 36, President to Vice President to President Obama for 8, and now a first term as president himself. These are not easy decisions to make. They're just not. And so the fact that he was able to make that decision in a selfless way, that's admirable.
One of the decisions he made, President Biden wants Vice President Harris to be the standard bearer of the party now. Does she still want to get rid of ICE?
You have seen what this administration has been able to do in the past 3.5 years, and they did that with the vice president as a partner in that. And Republicans got in the way. The president went around Republicans and was able to get thousands of personnel at the border, and now we are seeing a 50% drop at the border. And that's because of what this president has done.
As a partner, though, she's been in charge of root causes of migration for years. She has never spoken to the Border Patrol Chief, Jason Owens, or the Border Patrol Chief before him, Raul Ortiz. What should that tell us about her leadership style?
She was supposed to be doing root causes, dealing with diplomacy. Diplomacy. Wait, diplomacy. That's what her job was supposed to be. Diplomatic. That's the job. And I understand that you're asking these questions, but we should also look at congressional Republicans who got in the way, literally got in the way of everything that this president was trying to do to deal with the border. They got in the way. They would say one thing and then they would change their mind. They would say, we want Border Patrol, we want we want a deal on what's happening at the border, and then they would walk away from it. And they did it because of what the former president said. You guys reported that. That's not coming from me. Some of your colleagues reported that the former president said, let's not move forward with this proposal because it's going to help Joe Biden. I mean, that's also the reality. You got to talk about both sides here. Good.
Great.
This is.
I get that you're not going to give us. I get that you might have.
Okay. Yeah. No, go ahead,
Fine.
Peter.
One more. I get that you don't probably want
It's
to give
good to
us
see you too, James.
a specific name, but were there any names that came forward that surprised you of Democratic officials in the last week who stabbed President Biden in the back?
I don't have anything else to say. Go ahead, April.
Karine, really fast, 2 questions.
Yep.
One on Sonia Massey.
Yeah.
This is something that's continued to happen. The president, before he even became president, was really pushing after the George Floyd death, police-involved death.
Yeah.
What is the lesson learned, I guess, if you will? He couldn't get it through Congress, but he did come up with federal executive orders and efforts. But what is the lesson learned from this moment that continues to happen that I guess Kamala Harris might have to start dealing with as well if she becomes president?
I mean, when you say lesson learned, meaning?
How could you have done something differently, or what could you have done to maybe change the dynamic?
So, I think got to step back for a second here. The president has been able to reach across the aisle and get a lot of things done. He has. Gun legislation, the first bipartisan gun legislation that we saw in decades. That was important. And there's issues that, infrastructure legislation, was able to get that done. He reached over across the line and got bipartisan support. So we have seen this president and this vice president be very successful in doing that. There have been some issues that have been a little harder, to your point, police reform. And what the president did was when that wasn't able to get done in a bipartisan way in Congress, he took an executive order to deal with it on the federal law enforcement level. And that was a step that he was able to take. And he's going to continue. It doesn't stop. You heard me mention the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act probably 2 or 3 times at the top, because it's important to use to use our platform, to use this podium, to continue to call for what we believe is right. There's always going to be lessons in how people govern and decisions that we made here, but there's also been a lot of success. And when action wasn't happening in Congress, the president took action. The president took action.
So as you said, you mentioned this at the top, emphasizing this heinous death and how it happened. But is this something that the president hopes? I mean, it was one of his passion projects.
In 2020, for
yes.
sure. Absolutely.
Does the president hope that if Kamala Harris becomes president of the United States, that she could champion this and that she could get what he couldn't get done?
Absolutely. For sure. Absolutely. This is an important issue for this president. He's going to do everything that he can, you know, with the rest of his term to get this done. He's still going to work on this. It doesn't stop. Go ahead, Michael.
A few days before the president announced his withdrawal from the race, he said that he was going to be rolling out proposals for Supreme Court reform. Is he still committed to that?
Look, the president believes that when you hold a high office, you should be held by a certain ethics and transparency. That's something that the president believes. And so he certainly will continue to do everything that he can. I don't have any policy announcements to make at this moment today in front of you, but once we certainly will share that.
And just secondly, has the president spoken with former President Obama since making the decision?
No calls to read out. Okay.
Thank you. I have a foreign policy related question. President Biden will be one of the few sitting presidents since the establishment of U.S.-China relations not to visit China during his tenure. Could you please explain the reasoning behind this decision? Isn't this a missed opportunity?
So, you heard from the National Security Advisor himself many times when we've talked about our relationship with China. It's been very deliberate in our strategy and our approach to our relationship with China, very deliberate. And as you've heard us say many, many times, again, I mentioned the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, we're pursuing competition without conflict. That has been our goal from day one of this administration. You know, the president, as you know, met in a bilateral fashion with President Xi just last November, as you know, in California, with that goal in mind. Again, we want competition without conflict. So we have also had a number of cabinet secretaries. We've spoken to that. Whether it is Secretary Blinken or the Treasury Secretary, they've had travels to China over the past several years and many more. And so, look, we're going to continue to have these high-level officials travel there to China to continue to have those conversations. But we have been incredibly deliberate with our strategy. Again, competition without conflict, that's how we're moving forward.
There are still a few months left.
Yeah.
Will there still be opportunity?
Say that last part. Would there still be
a chance he may go abroad?
I don't have anything to share about foreign travel, but we have been very deliberate with our strategy. We believe it's worked, and we're going to continue to move forward in that fashion. Go ahead, Danny.
Thanks, Karine. The president said that he wants to push for a Gaza ceasefire in his last 6 months in office, but Prime Minister Netanyahu just gave a really uncompromising speech to Congress, and that just a day before he comes here to the White House. Does the president really believe that Netanyahu sounds like a man who's likely to go for a peace deal?
So let me just say a couple of things. I do want to give our reaction to the Prime Minister's speech. So we appreciate Prime Minister Netanyahu for thanking President Biden for his unwavering support for Israel and his efforts to secure the release of the hostages. President Biden looks forward to meeting the Prime Minister here tomorrow to discuss developments in Gaza, including negotiations on a ceasefire deal and the humanitarian situation on the ground. And my colleagues in the 4 o'clock hour is going to, at NSC, is going to hold a press call where they're going to address additional questions regarding the Prime Minister's address and also his visit. So I would certainly tune in. You'll hear more from them directly. Look, they're going to meet tomorrow. The president has always been clear on how he sees the future, a two-state solution. He's always supported that. That's something that he's going to continue to speak to. They're going to have a conversation tomorrow. The president looks forward to that. The vice president's also going to have a meeting with the prime minister tomorrow. And so I'll leave it there. But the National Security Council is going to be doing a press call, so I would certainly refer you to any further questions that you may have on the visit.
I've got no sense of whether he does have any confidence that this is really an achievable goal in his last 6 months.
I believe that the president is optimistic. This is a president that believes that anything could happen if you stay focused, if you work hard towards it. So he's going to be optimistic. The work continues, and that's not going to stop him for sure. Yeah, Jerry.
Given that you've had a lot of questions about the president's agenda here over the next 6 months, I'm curious, does the president believe that some of what he'd like to get through Congress between now and the end of the year is made easier if he's not a candidate?
I don't quite understand the question because he's not on the.
Does he think that it'll be easier, harder, the same to kind of get some of these things that he's been struggling to get through Congress through now?
Well, first of all, this has been the fact that the president has gotten this much done. Right, the historic pieces of legislation. Wait, hold on. You guys got to give me a second to answer, to actually warm up into the answer. So, look, the president has gotten a lot done. Historic amount of legislation passed. Historic pieces of legislation passed, and that wasn't done with an easy political climate, right? It's not. I mean, I think you could agree with me there. And so, look. We're going to have more to share on what the next several months, the final several months of his term is going to look like. We will share that. The president wants to continue to build on those historic initiatives that he was able to get done. This has not been an easy political climate, and some of that work did it in a bipartisan way. And when he wasn't able to get it done in a bipartisan way, he found policy ways to do that in executive action. And we've been able to be successful, whether it's the border, right? Whether it's trying to get things done on the student loan side. There's been ways that the president has been very focused on making sure we're delivering on the initiatives, on the goals that we set out to do in the beginning of this administration. That doesn't stop. Go ahead.
Karine, I have two questions, domestic and foreign policy. On domestic, was there any reason why the president did not endorse the vice president in the first week? It took like a while, maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, look, the first meeting.
The first tweet was he withdrawing from the race, but he did not say clearly that he is endorsing her.
From the letter to the
letter that he
statement.
sent.
To the tweet.
Yeah.
There was a half hour.
It was
30 minutes. Because there was a 30 minutes? You're questioning a 30-minute window?
Because no, I'm not questioning. I'm just asking if there was a reason.
I mean, look, he put out a letter to the American people about a decision that he had made. That deserved a standalone letter, I believe, right? A decision, an important historic decision. He wanted to do that and speak directly to the American people. That's why he did the letter. And then obviously 30 minutes later, you got the endorsement. That's not a significant amount, but it's not a significant amount of time. I think if you look at the letter, you see that he was truly trying to lay down the decision, a very weighty decision, and he wanted to say that directly to the American people.
Fair enough, you explain it now.
Thank you for approving that answer.
Second question on foreign policy, just to follow up on
Sure.
this question. What message does the administration send to the world when we see the White House is barricaded in anticipation of Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit here? The ICC found a reasonable ground to indict him as a war criminal, and 70% of Israelis want him to step down.
So look, I can't speak to Israelis. That's I'm not going to speak to domestic politics. I think we've been very clear on our feelings about ICC and their recommendation, something that we do not agree on. We've been very clear about that. Look, when it comes to what we're seeing outside, as you said, the barricades and such, that's something for Secret Service to speak to. They can speak to why they feel that it's needed. That is not for me to speak to. But it doesn't change the fact that we believe in the right for all Americans to peacefully protest. That is something that we've always been very clear about. It is the right of all Americans to peacefully protest. And we understand that this is an incredibly painful moment for many communities, and we respect that. And also, in that same vein, we're going to strongly condemn any type of violence or destruction of property. That is something that we've been very clear about as well. But peacefully protest, that's something that we support. I can't speak to, there's reasons why the Secret Service is deciding to do that. That is for them to speak to directly. Okay. Okay. Mark.
Hi, thank you, Karine, very much. Karine, you were saying how difficult was this decision for President Biden. What is his mood since he took this decision, and what will be the tone of the address tonight? Also, what did he decide to do from the Oval Office? I wonder if he's going to do campaigning from...
So a couple of things. Look, I saw the president not too long ago, a couple hours ago. He's determined. He's in good spirits. He wants to speak directly to the American people tonight. That is his focus. He is doing it from the Oval Office because, as many of you all reported, and we agree with all of you, this is an important moment. This is a historic moment. And this decision was a big decision, was an important decision. And Oval Offices are used for moments that, I would say, moments like these that are historic. So he wants to do it from the Oval. He's going to do it in prime time. He's going to speak directly to the American people. I would say, again, tune in. You'll hear from what he has to say. And I think it's going to be important. I think it's going to be important.
Expect that he's going to ask people to vote for Harris from the Oval, or doing any kind of campaign?
It's going to be a speech, we believe, that is going to be important for the American people to hear directly from this president in this moment, in this historic moment. And I'm not going to get into details, get into specifics. I've said this many times from here, I'm not going to get ahead of the president. This is his opportunity to explain that decision and for the Americans people to listen in. So I know I got to go. Go ahead.
Thanks so much, Queen. Can you give us any more color about the preparation for the speech? Who's been helping the president write it? If he's been sounding, using anybody as a sounding board?
I'm not going to go into details. Obviously, this is a speech that the president's very deeply involved in. You don't use the Oval Office often. You use it for incredibly important moments. And that's what you're going to hear tonight. I'm just not going to get into specifics as to how the president is preparing. I will say this, obviously his senior advisors are always heavily involved. And this is a president that's taking this very seriously, very focused, like he does with any other speech. And so, tune in.
And can you say whether or not you'd be willing to have the president's doctor come to the podium, particularly given that the president does intend to serve out his term, and there have been a number of questions about, his fitness for office. Some of those questions could be settled if perhaps there's if his doctor would come to the podium, or if more medical records could be released.
You heard from the president's doctor, I believe, every day that he had COVID. He gave his assessment of what was going on, what was happening. There was a memo that was sent out to all of you. Obviously, the memo was given to me, and we shared it publicly. I don't have anything else. And you've heard me say this many times. There was an extensive medical evaluation that was done, physical that was done in February. You all have that. I just don't have anything else to share from here. All right, thanks everybody. I'll be back tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.